start, I'd like to deal briefly with last week's primetime programme and the Minister's allegation that I was stopped and cautioned by Gardaí last year for the use of a mobile phone while driving. While I could not recall the incident at that time, I have since confirmed that a Garda car pulled up beside me while I was stopped at the traffic lights in the Five Lamps in Dublin. I was not stopped or cautioned, and none of the Gardaí even got out of their vehicle. As others have noted, the politically motivated and personal attack represents a serious abuse of the Minister's power and privilege. And I can confirm that I have written to both the Standards and Public Office Commission and the Data Protection Commissioner requesting them to investigate the matter. Throughout our campaign for an independent public inquiry in relation to the termination of fixed charge notices, we have always only spoke of the issue of discretion in relation to fixed charge notices that had gone up on the Pulse system. The Minister has consistently tried to misrepresent our position on discretion. So I'll make it clear from once again. I have never stated, or we haven't, that there should be no discretion in cases, for example, where someone is speeding to hospital with a sick child. What I have said repeatedly is that this use of discretion must be subject to the proper monitoring and oversight in order to ensure that it is not open to abuse. At present, as the Minister knows, there is no legislation to provide for this discretionary power. This was confirmed by the Attorney-General in 2006, who stated that if Gardaí do exercise this discretion, then it must be recorded. This recommendation was clearly not followed, as the internal review found that the lack of a paper trail was one of the two main problems identified. In addition, the foremost authority on road traffic legislation, Robert Pearce, has gone further and said that under the current legislation, the exercise of this discretion by Gardaí is unlawful. Despite the Minister's claims, I am not opposed to discretion as long as it is lawful and subject to a system of transparency, monitoring, oversight, appeal and a formal application process that can be evidenced by a paper trail. Furthermore, it should be a well-publicised system that is accessible to all members of society and not just those who can count the senior Garda among their circle of friends. The Minister continues to misrepresent our position in order to minimise and rubbish the serious issues at hand, issues which have impacted on road safety, revenue for the state and ultimately the application of the rule of law in this state and whether it can be considered to be uniform, consistent and fairly applied. Since myself and three other TDs raised these issues, the Minister has tried to ridicule us, skew the debate, misrepresent our position and has shown a fundamental lack of respect for us as elected representatives and a fundamental disrespect for the meaningful operation and functioning of the legislature. Why did the Minister stoop to these unparliamentary levels? What is he trying to hide? If these issues are really so minimal, why was he afraid to exercise his powers in order to order a special inquiry or even to refer the matters to the Garda Ombudsman and have them investigated in a transparent manner? This is the only way public confidence in the system would have been restored. Were you afraid that the Ombudsman might act in an independent manner? But he repeatedly dismissed our calls for a public inquiry and has refused to explain why he did not use one of the three options available to him to have this matter externally investigated. He told us that the internal review would answer all our questions. But the truth of the matter is, the internal review was discredited as early as the 7th of December when the Commissioner rubbished it and said there was no basis for the allegations. It was discredited by the failure to interview or protect the two whistleblowers. Can you imagine it? Two whistleblowers come forward, provide a dossier which is a sample of what was going on, just a sample, and nobody interviews them. You couldn't make it up. It was discredited by its terms of reference, which are narrow, disproving, dismissing and minimising. Finally, the Minister was not able to release the names of people who have had their fixed charge notices terminated, and I didn't ask him to do so. He was not able to release the name of a superintendent who has terminated almost 1,000 fixed charge notices for every offence possible. Several hundred of these terminations were squashed with the excuses such as Garda seeks cancellation and Garda wants termination. Serious questions must be asked. But the Minister chose to release the name of someone who did not get a fixed charge notice terminated, who didn't even get a fixed charge notice. You say, Minister, that you released my name in the public interest. Are you serious? Do you think the people believe you? I don't believe so. Minister, it isn't us that are undermining the Garda Síochána, it's you.